Hello everyone, welcome to video 40, Heaven at 16%. Yesterday was Heaven at 13, so somehow in one day, actually even like 12 hours, we got 3%. Pretty cool. How did that happen? I don't know. It just felt like 16 sounded better than 40. Video 40 should be Heaven at 16%. So, good day to you, and Heaven is waiting. Heaven is waiting with open arms. True Father and God are in absolute oneness, and we must make them happy. We cannot disappoint our Creator and our Messiah who rebooted humanity. Okay? It's already been rebooted, so the solution has been taken care of. So we are the ones to confirm to all mankind that heaven exists. So they need to see some miracles. What's going to feel like miracles? It's actually just the original intention of our Creator, that we see and feel heaven 100% of the time. That's how we joined. The people that joined, as in my experience, the people that joined the Unification Church did so because the person they met loved them like someone they didn't meet before. And so there was a remarkable level of love and sacrifice going on when I joined the church. In the Oakland family, their unity was beautiful, and it was like childlike, and they had these are people that pretty much had come to the point where they were ready to die for their faith, and it created a family atmosphere, and it was and of course it came from River Moon. That's why Oni Sue Lim, her nickname is Oni, that means older sister. It's a Korean word. And her name in Korean, I don't actually know. I think it's Sue Lim. Maybe that's her first name, Sue Lim. Or, yeah, I think that's why I would have heard of that. Like Oni Sue Lim, that's not her last name. Her last name is something else. Maybe it's Kim Sue Lim or something like that. Anyway, so Oni came to the United States pretty much alone in the 60s and worked for years here, searching for members, and then she found the first member, who's a woman, and they united, and they united their faith once her first member, her first apostle, you might call it, disciple, I don't know the difference between those, united with her after hearing the divine principle and about River Moon, and then together they found Oni's husband. I think that's how it happened. But anyway, it started with Reverend Moon, and he sent people all over the world to do the same thing, and they did. So it was a very strong faith, and that's what created the foundation that unificationists around the world are walking. I hope this is loud enough. It's a person can always turn it down. So so far I think there's been no problem. I'm speaking kind of quietly this morning. But by the way, it's Sunday morning here, 10:27 a.m., July 14th, at that time, yes, July 14th, not 2019, yes, of course. So we are going to bring victory because God has already established the true family on earth, and we just need to see it. We need to be the ones to show it now to everyone, and everyone will come. It's very simple. And this year, yeah. So that makes the rest of this year, those 5 months that are left after this month, pretty exciting. There's a plan. Yeah. And the fact that it's no ho-hum event, or no ho-hum affair, not an affair, no ho-hum event, it means it's going to be very noticeable by everyone. Yes, everyone's going to know. Because we all belong to God. We do not belong to this world. The world that was created by Lucifer, okay, we took part. We are the physical bodies that made this world. But not, we can say now that we do not belong to that contrary realm anymore. So some of us, we are transcending. Okay, we're all doing the best we can to enter heaven, and some people are, more apparently destructive and hurtful to humanity than others. But our purpose is to liberate all mankind, and God has a plan for that, and we are simply following that plan. So there's no room to accuse and decide who's the evil one. Because I've been having such thoughts, I've been strictly disciplined for even a second of entertaining such a thought, like somehow I'm better than somebody else. That, yeah, that's impossible. That's not the basis of our creation. God put himself below everything. And Reverend Moon made that very clear, that we put ourselves below the level of others in order to serve them. Yeah, because love multiplies automatically when we do that. Yeah, there can be no defeat of true love. So this is all very good news. And today, what else shall we talk about? Yesterday, say last night, but yesterday. In yesterday's video, I was talking about some of my life, what I remember from growing up in my life, a little, just for a few minutes. And we can always do some more of that. And what else we can talk about? It's 8:11, 8 minutes, 11 seconds into the video. And what else is very, 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 very essential? Most importantly is, I guess, we're every day by day, it's like a timer. God set the timer. When you don't want to miss when something's done. You set a timer, you turn the timer, and then it slowly goes back, and when it hits 0, it's done. And so that's what God did right now with heaven. At the end, when you're doing the final, when you're baking, you've already done. That was an analogy that I heard in when I first joined the church too. It's like baking a cake. We're baking a cake, but we need to cook it, and we've done all the preparations. We've got all the ingredients, or we've even grown the ingredients and then harvested them, and then mixed them, ground them, whatever, dried them, and then mix everything together. And now the final act is to put it in the oven, set the timer, and then wait for the timer to reach 0, and it's done. That's what heaven is. That's us this year, and the establishment of heaven on earth. That is great news. 5:55. It's my favorite number. Okay. So what other nice little things can we realize? My poor eyeballs. They feel irritated a lot. But what do you do? I'm not going to a doctor, I'll tell you. That's one thing I will not do. In the future, when we go to a doctor, they'll say, oh, well, just take this herb and take that herb, and your body will be nourished in the way it needs to be. It will protect you from such a thing happening. But there's not too many of those doctors around today, as far as I know. They're not advertising in the newspaper, I know that. or on the internet. I guess I could look it up, but it's very well hidden. Matter of fact, anyway, those doctors are being murdered, is what it is. I don't know what the stats are, but there's a lot of doctors holistic doctors being murdered. Yeah. They're trying to set an example. Look up Dr. Jennifer Daniels. She's a doctor. She's from Harlem, I think it was. Or maybe it was somewhere, anyway, a slum in a big city back east. Pretty sure it was back east. And she graduated from one of the top medical schools in the country, and then she built a building, and she owned the whole thing, a medical building, and carried out her business to help the people she grew up around. So most of her clients, most of her patients, she knew or knew of, right? And that's how they found her. And then she started noticing that there were people like she had out of 10,000 patients, 4 died from normal prescription, from the normal dosage prescription of the drugs that she was, and they not only did not improve, but they died. So she decided, well, I don't want to be killing people. So she divided all of her prescriptions in half, and then the next year, I think this is how it works. She has this story online. Just look it up. And then 2 died. So she divided it in half again, and then none died. And then at the same time, she was developing her own kind of alternative to prescription drugs, and she would give people the choice to choose whether they would like a prescription drug or to take holistic medicine or an alternative healing. And that's what she was doing. The representative from the drug company came into her office and said, last year, blah, 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 your sales, blah, 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 and you better do the, she was threatening her in her office. And she said, well, you know what, it's time for you to leave. She lives in Panama now. She got letters, that she was put on the United States terrorist list twice. Anyway, you got to listen to her story. I mean, this is what the medical practice does. I mean, they call it medical practice like it's just, once you hear the Rockefeller drug story, you kind of get the idea. And that's about a guy in the 30s who owned a newspaper. And he was, and he printed some articles about people that were getting poor service from the electric company. And the electric company said to him, you know what, you're going to be out of business pretty soon if you keep that up. And so he actually quit the business, and he said that's when he found out how free the press is. Yeah, the press is not free at all. They're slaves to the corporatocracy that is running, in this country and around the world. And if you want evidence and explanations about what is the corporatocracy, just listen to the video called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. They call it EHM. That's what they're called in their own department. Okay, this is the CIA. They call themselves EHM, and they still have them. Those are the people that go around the country and steal the resources. This is a book and videos. Okay, this about a man who was doing this for many years and explains it outright on video. They said they told him not to do it, and he's tried starting to do it at one time, and then he I don't know, somehow, and then later on he came back to it and he said, I'm doing it this time. Because he had it all there, he just couldn't publish it, I guess. And but now it's published, and now he has these videos, and it's like a 40-minute video or something like that. So, and he explains how the corporations of the United States, it's actually a global organization. It's not the United States. It's not what we all have been told. Anyway, so the globalists just go to countries where they aren't in control of the news and the banks and the and they give them loans. This is the role of the World Bank. The record of the World Bank since they started, however many decades ago it was, I think it was 4 or 5 or 6, is very poor. There's many more poor people. Countries are more disadvantaged. There's more. It just, the idea that they're doing something good is absolutely ridiculous. And he has the stats. It's all there. Call it conspiracy theory if you wish. But the purpose of heaven is to, like Ephesians 5:11 says, some people are pointing out these days, like Field McConnell, is that we shall not take part in evil. We shall expose it. And the coming of heaven, it allows people to see the difference. That's all. As we are exposed to heaven, then we see, wow, the world is not heaven. It's all these things they say are good things. About what these organizations are doing, just exposes how big of liars they are. Now that we have the internet and we can see honestly, and people that have horrible things happen to them can come online and tell their stories. These things are not, did not happen by mistake. There's a very dark and evil force running the system that made the world the way it is shown to be. And that's not the real world at all. And we are taking care of all that. All we have to do is is focus on heaven. That's all we have to do. And that's what, it's 1734, but it's actually 1742. So we are 8 seconds. We are in an 8-second, that, when you fly from point A to point B, the plane goes from one station to another. So that 8% variation, that 8-second variation, is where we are in relation to the next station. That's all. Yeah. So if it happens to be that we're pointed directly towards the next station as we change topics in our video, then we'll hit 1734 directly. Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Karen Hughes points out that she has the videos shot from Washington D.C. in a professional studio. Some professionals, best they can do outside of the the circles where they produce the very well packaged, mainstream lying machine. And she's been doing it for over 2 years, and is exposing the network of corporate control. What's it called? The network of global corporate control, and how 40% of the publicly traded companies on the stock exchange, is that what you said, stock exchange? On the world's market, yeah, she was talking about all the stock exchanges, own and controls, 20,000 companies, 40,000 companies? Anyway, well, it's there. Karen Hughes, she says it all the time. It's the title of the video series. It's called The Network of Global Corporate Control. And it's on every Tuesday. Every Tuesday. She's back east. and her name is Karen Hudes, or Hudes actually. It's Hudes, and yeah, and she points out that there's whatever it is, 20,000 companies are they own 40,000 companies, and they control 60% of the profit because of interlocking boards of directors. Yeah. So you can have an influence on the world when you're in that position. And they have, and it's been and that particular organization has been nothing but destructive and hurtful for people. Even though they have the greatest story, the greatest page, the greatest cover story in the world. That's just the nature of the beast, who has been defeated and is doing its best to mend the breakage, because that system is very quickly going down. Yeah. It's just people are finding out that mankind are perfect, and we are children of God, and God created us, and God is only a God of love. He's not a God of destruction and hate and war and all those things that supposedly were very honorable and normal and natural to make freedom. You don't need to kill people to be free. I got news for you. Anyway, it does become obvious as the evidence. It just since we start hearing this at age 0, in the womb, we're surrounded by this whole network of lies. Then it's hard to change that, and that's what the movie explains clearly, using professionals, how people can be influenced in this way. The Choice is Ours. That movie, by Roxanne Meadows, The Choice is Ours. It's about a 1 hour and 30-minute video. I think so. Yeah. Very nicely done. Beautiful, beautiful video. Yeah, so what else? 2228. Very, very important. It's the end of evil on earth. When we first, like I said in videos past in this series, when we first, those who joined the unification movement following Reverend Moon, all, I believed, as I did, that heaven would be here maybe 2 years later, because the whole world would find out and it was a natural expectation. We hear the divine principle, and we just know, wow, this is really true, and this is all these connections I never made before, and we don't wonder whether there should be war, whether it's just ridiculous to consider it. But the old system is so hard dying. It's so interwoven into so many, completely. All information we had started with came from Lucifer, because of Eve and Adam uniting with Lucifer's leadership. As Reverend Moon says in the Divine Principle, the devil, Lucifer, Satan, was cast in this starring role. And so suddenly, and that's just like Hollywood. They say the worst and most horrific movies are the best movies, and it's like, oh, that's what sells. No, that's not what sells. That's what you put out there for people to believe in, so that the mastery of mankind can go on hurting and destroying and deceiving. And it's very clear that, people that, it could have been me. I could have been the devil's top man. I just wasn't born into it. It could have been me. I could have been the worst human being ever born. Because if the devil wanted me, he probably would have had me, because this world is definitely not God's world yet. But soon it will be. Actually, because of Reverend Moon, it is God's world now. But now it's like we got to clean up the mess. That's all. We just got to clean out the dirty corners and make it sparkle. Scrub it up a bit everywhere, everywhere, everywhere. And a lot of people are doing that. More and more people are coming to God's side every day. And it has to happen. It's going to, at some point, it's going to be like dominoes. It's not like my favorite little joke from Joe Wong. Domino's is not a good name for a chain restaurant. Yeah, it'll all go down very quickly as soon as people in leadership roles, and just like like movie stars and top politicians, and that may not happen. It doesn't have to happen. Good people will become the most famous people because the time has come. So, yeah. So heaven is going to be here very soon, guys. Pack your bags. But we're not going anywhere. This time, the dark forces have to pack their bags. Or live here. It's going to be really uncomfortable for people doing evil to live here on this earth very soon. Yeah, they'll just say, oh my God, they're going to really have to do a very close scrutiny of what they're doing, because it just won't be comfortable. Going outside won't be comfortable, and I think that that's probably how it's been for many years. Although they've been in secret, the people pretty much pulling all the strings. Whatever it is, 27 levels above the ones we see, are nobody, none of the public. They can walk around in public and nobody knows the difference. So anyway, we don't have to identify people. It's just the spirit world. By us doing good, we influence more of the earth, and by us realizing where God wants us to be and how to follow God's, and that heaven is one of our options, then the world is quickly becoming heaven. Yeah. God needs to win now. That's all. It's God's time. 2019. And the reason I say 2019, it kind of works out. The reason is because it came to me in my dream that this was the year, and then I started writing my journal, and now I'm making videos. And I said, oh, that's kind of cute, because Reverend Moon was born in 1920. And then when I was in the Philippines, right during that time, the grandfather there, the father, grandfather, because that's why I went there. I went to the Philippines to stay with a woman whose boyfriend had abandoned her pregnant. Because I actually did that once. I abandoned my first wife after about 3 years, and we had 4 years. We had a 3-year-old son, and that's not pretty. That's not God's plan at all. But I just got angry, and was at the mercy of the devil's whims, I'm sure, because people in this world, the world I grew up in, the realm of this world that I grew up in, was kind of like, we don't have time to do just anything for anyone. So let me go about my business, at least making my life a pleasant experience, which, without heaven, it cannot fail but lead people astray. And that's what Hollywood's all about, is to lead everyone astray. And it's been very successful. But it's just the wrong leader. Yeah, can't follow that leader forever. It's just going to hit a brick wall eventually. So, yeah. So, speaking of, anyway, that's enough of that. So, it's good news. Thank you very much for being here. What else? Anything else we need to go over before we finish? Video 30 minutes. Video 40, heaven at 16%. That's all good news. That's all good news because we're just confirming in small little like course corrections. Let's say our destination, the longest trips on Earth I think are like 20 hours now, and they can fly, I think it's 8,000 miles. Is that true? Oh no, I think it's longer than that. I think they can now fly with the A380. I think it's because they're holding so much fuel and the engines are so much more efficient. They can now fly, I've forgotten what it is. Just go look up Sam Chewy. Sam Chewy from Hong Kong has videos on flying airlines, business, and first class, and what they provide, and everywhere they go, and all that kind of stuff. And he's really, what a guy. He's such a nice guy. And so, yeah, he talks, I think one of the videos, oh, no, maybe it's not Sam Chewy, it's probably Mentor Pilot. It's like the word mentor, but it's Mentor Pilot. And he's a pilot. He works for, I don't know, who does he work for? What airline? I don't even know. Anyway, so yeah, he's talking about the range of the long haul airlines, how far they can go now, and they were talking about going from Australia to I guess the longest haul was Australia to Europe. Yeah, so I don't know how we got to that, but anyway, yeah. So, and then of course Elon Musk, and if you look on SpaceX, and then look on BFR, which means Big Falcon Rocket, the BFR is going to be used to travel on Earth, and within 1 hour you can go anywhere on Earth, and they're building it right now. And it's the same ship that's going to be sent to orbit and then refueled with the fuel it took them to get there, and then filled up completely using, and then they're going to launch from space to get to Mars. And that's all happening in a few years. They're going to be ready, I'm quite sure, for the 22. They're going to send 2 cargo ships and 22 to Mars to land. And then they're going to send 2 cargo ships and 2 manned ships to Mars in 24, because every 2 years we can fly to Mars. It's Mars, what do they call it? Intersection or something. It's when the orbits align, so we can get to Mars the easiest. It's the closest at that time. And if we launch, and by the time we get there, that's when it arrives. We meet it in its orbit. And so I think it's 26 months. Every 26 months, he's going to send up, and then so in 2024, he's planning to have I don't know how many people, but enough stuff. He's got the city planned out, and starting with, of course, how to land there, and they're thinking the whole thing out. The whole SpaceX team. That's the purpose of their sending rockets up, creating rockets, and now carrying out a satellite launching business for other people, and now they're making their own satellites. And that the first launch was I think it was 2 weeks ago now, less than 2 weeks, of their 60 satellites, their first 60 test satellites, because they're going to have, I think it's 4,025 or however many, the constellation of satellites around the Earth, so that they can provide fast internet to anybody on Earth. It'll just be what you can get in a city, but it'll be available absolutely everywhere that you can see the sky. So that's going to be very good for humanity when everybody has fast internet and reasonably priced. So he's going to have about, he says it's not for people living in developed countries. He said it's for people that don't have internet now, or it's extremely expensive or extremely unreliable. Because the internet right now, it goes through a set of wires, and he said it's like, at least 10 or more, like 12 different switching relays for it. So it makes it, the latency, the delay between the signal sent and received is very, it's poor because it takes a long time. And, relatively, we're talking seconds, but not minutes, but yeah, seconds. But when you're talking about billions of people that don't have internet right now, that's major. And if you're talking about, even $5 a month, that's, that's going to be a huge income, and that's what's going to fund their space, their Mars effort to build a city and terraform Mars. He's not kidding around. As you may, anybody that's followed Reverend Moon also. That's the source. I'm sure Elon Musk was born because Reverend Moon made the space for people like that to be born. Because, Tesla was born too, but he didn't do what Elon Musk is doing. And interestingly, Elon Musk calls his car company Tesla. So, yeah. And wisely, Elon Musk says, well, I called it Tesla, but I really respect Edison the most. And if you wanted to survive, I can't imagine a better storyline. It may be true, but I gotta hand him kudos for, not making himself a target, because that's one thing for sure. To be any kind of an answer for this world, a person needs to somehow not be a target, for immediate murder. It's surprising, and it's only because I'm sure of good people that who are, because of Reverend Moon's influence in the world, God's influence. Reverend Moon is a man, okay, but God is behind it. It just confirms that God and true love are our origin. We have no other origin. So, that's great. 37:35. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go about my day here, and got to go lay a hardwood floor, figure out how to put it down without nails, and it's very thick oak. So it's going to be, I was thinking last night, maybe I'll use it's a tongue and groove. So maybe what I'll do is I'll put a little glue in the back of the groove and a little glue on the front of the tongue and drive them together, and then hopefully they'll contact somehow. Anyway, so the first job I'm going to do is cut it to fit the wall exactly, the first string of boards, because they come short. They have all different lengths, from about a foot on or less, and they interlock on the ends and on the edges. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I'll let you know. Yeah, it's used flooring. Got a good deal on it. Yeah, the stuff's not cheap. 3/4 inch oak is not cheap. Okay, guys. Awesome. You are awesome. I'm so happy you're here. You make my world happy. Happy and in true love. Have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow in video 41. Heaven at 17%. That's tomorrow. Great. Tomorrow is Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.